Hello, welcome to something new that I'm trying to do where I play a game and then talk about it after I play it. This is something I've always wanted to try doing, and I decided to do it for the first time with like a smaller game that doesn't have much in terms of design, that does something that I found pretty interesting. And this game is Moment to Midnight. It's a game I found through a list of games that have really nice soundtracks, and I saw it and listened to the soundtrack. It was really good, so I decided to go check it out and play it, and I really liked the game, and I thought it was pretty cool and pretty nice. I just made a video of playing through it, talking a bit about it as I was playing through it. If you want to go check that out, I might link it in the description if I remember. Otherwise, you could just like search it up on YouTube. It might also just be at the end card. So if you don't want to check out that video, this game is basically about this town that has a clock tower that is kind of broken and has been broken for a really long time. And you play this fox who aims to fix it. Along the way, the player gets these different gifts that are given to them by the people the player talks to. And as you go through the town, you also learn a bit about the town itself and how the clock being broken has affected the lives of the people living in it. Eventually, with all these gifts that the player gets given, they make it to the tower and to the top of the clock tower and end up fixing it and reactivating it and transforming it into some winged beast. I didn't really understand that too much what was going on with that. To me, it was kind of cryptic about hey, I chose you specifically. There's a reason why. I'm not telling you much. One of the characters says, I didn't really figure that out or understand that myself, but other than that, I think the story was very nice and very interesting and very cool. So I mentioned that the player gets gifts as they progress through the game, which is what I found really interesting and what I really like about this game. When the player starts the game, it's just the player character and this one other character in a black void, and the person says, hey, I gave you the gift to be able to listen, so that you could listen to what I'm saying to you. And that's how the player is able to see the dialogue, is because of this gift. Then the player gets the gift to be able to proceed, which allows them to walk to the right and move forward in the game. Then they get the gift to see, so I don't remember if I said this, but they start in a black void, and when they get the gift to see, then they're able to see the characters in the world and everything. And then they get the gift of being able to walk back and then being able to speak and gaze and other things. And I think it was a very interesting way of introducing different mechanics to the player. And the game does a really good job of putting the acquisition of these gifts into a context, kind of the context of the game, because this chameleon character that we talked to at the start says, I took everything away from you and brought you to this world so you could help them, and only gave you what you needed to progress or to succeed. I think it's so interesting how they did this with all of that. In the game, there's also a little bit of a puzzle. It's not really super much of a puzzle, but it's where the character has to talk to three different characters in a certain order and have to figure out which order to talk to them in by what they say. And as the player is going up through the clock tower, climbing through the floors of the clock tower, there's a point where there are 3 doors on the floor, and you have to go through these doors in the same order that you had to talk to these children, which I think was really cool. And it showed that the town is a bit connected with the clock tower, more than just hey, there really hasn't been time since the clock tower stopped working. This game reminds me of 2 games, one of them being Undertale, just because of its pixel art, and then kind of just a nice somber soundtrack with a nice little mystery with characters who say so little but have so much personality to them. In Undertale, there are a lot of characters around the world that you kind of just talk to very briefly, but they seem to have a lot of personality behind them, and you can be oh, these are actual people living in this town. Now this is kind of unrelated, this second game that it makes me think of. It's called Bug Fables. It's an RPG. I don't know much about it, and I played a little bit of the beginning of it, and playing through it, it feels very indie. It feels like it's an indie game. I don't know if it's an indie game or not, or who made it. It's a good game from the section I played. It was fun. It was nice. It was interesting. There was a bunch to it, and it was very simple though. It didn't try to do too much, which was really nice. It wasn't that dissimilar from a lot of other RPGs, but in my opinion, it kind of did set itself apart a tiny bit. As someone who hasn't played too many RPGs, I say. But it was fun. And then both of those games got me thinking, like, hey, these are both like really simple games that aren't trying to be groundbreaking at all, but ended up being pretty good and pretty entertaining for what they are, and got me looking back in my old projects and looking at like the scope of it and like what I was trying to do with it, and made me realize like, hey, maybe I don't need to do something super big or super grand or super unheard of before to make a decent game. Like, of course, yeah, you don't want to make a cookie cutter copy of like another game that's out there, but it kind of got me to think, like, maybe you don't need to redefine the definition of a genre to create a game that people are going to play. As long as you have a nice gimmick or like, you know, a nice story or a nice theme, then maybe people will check it out. Like, you're not gonna blow up or get huge or anything, but you might find an audience. So this was the first video that I made of something I want to try to start doing, where I play a game and then have a second audio only segment where I just share my thoughts about the game and talk about what I think about the design and maybe the story and the game overall as well. And I'm hoping that by doing this, it'll help me and maybe people who end up watching this get a better understanding of what goes into designing a game and elements that work or don't work in games, or things that are interesting, and maybe get some ideas. I don't know. Like, I'm no expert. Like, everything I say is my opinion and it's just my thinking, and that's the point of this. I just want to share my thoughts and my feelings about different games I play, because I like talking about the things I like and sharing it with people and having people be able to listen to what I want to say about things. And again, it's not going to be perfect. Like, people could have different opinions or thoughts about different aspects, but I'm just sharing my thoughts. And this is something I hope to keep doing. I don't know how much time I'm going to have to actually keep making these videos, because editing takes a lot of time. And I'm working on my own game project right now, which I've posted like 2 devlogs on my YouTube channel for. I don't think they turned out very well. I tried to do something with them, or I guess I just tried to make devlogs and it didn't work out very well. And I don't think it's worth the time and effort to create these devlogs, and I think I'd rather focus on developing the game and also streaming it occasionally on Twitch. But yeah, I'm busy working on my own project right now, and I don't know if I want to spend so much time like playing games and editing videos about them and then talking about them. So we'll see how this continues, if it continues, how it evolves. I might start streaming the games. I've streamed a ton of games on my Twitch. I have a VOD channel of games I've streamed, and I might just create these like audio videos talking about the games I've already played on my Twitch and that I've already streamed. We'll see. But yeah, that was it for this video. I wanted to start with like a smaller, simpler game that doesn't have much in terms of like, or too much in terms of design, because I just wanted to test the waters, see how I would do sitting here just talking about a game from, well, not from my brain. I have like a list of notes of like points I wanted to cover, but like from mostly my brain. I think it went well. I'll see how it is when I edit it and see how rambly or how off track or how bad it is. I do have a lineup of other games that I want to do this for. Maybe I'll do it for those and see how things are after I do it. But this was fun. I enjoyed being able to do this. And if you're watching here and you're watching now, thanks for sticking around and thanks for watching. I really don't expect too many people to watch this or stick around this long even. But if you did, that's cool. That's amazing. Thanks for doing that. I'm glad you enjoyed my talking enough to sit here and listen to me for this long. But yeah, it was cool. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.